Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Crunch Time with Brian and CliffyB. What's up?
How's it going, man? How you doing?
Doing good. This is our first episode, our premiere episode, episode 0, we're going to call it.
I'm sure it's going to go off without a hitch.
We're going to see what happens. This will be very loosey-goosey.
Yep.
It's going to be, we're going to chat. We're going to have guests. Not today. Today's going to get to know us. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to get to know people, you watching and listening. We'll get to know what we do and what we're going to have in this podcast. And we'll just see where it goes, you know?
Figure out what we bring to the damn table.
Yeah, I just realized we didn't really mean to wear all blue right now. It's nice.
I know. It's a good thing I don't have a blue screen. You see, I have like podcast lighting in my house now.
It's lovely. I have a closet.
Yeah. but you have like nerdy stuff behind you. So
I
that
do.
That makes it legit.
Remember the old Ninja Turtle, the old turtle ice cream bars? That's what that
Oh, yeah, the ones that were always fucked up. Yeah.
The ones that always melted.
I'm wearing my blue screen of death shirt.
Nice.
Yep.
Love it. I'm wearing a Knicks sweatshirt.
Now, that was always my favorite thing, was like walking through Times Square and you'd see a giant billboard with the blue screen of death and you're like, ha, feel my pain.
You got to restart your Windows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's some intern getting yelled at right there.
So should we introduce each other for those who don't know? I mean, everybody knows me. No.
Yeah, I mean, Brian McGinnis is a stand-up comedian and voiceover actor. He's been at this for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And he's hosted a variety of events and locales and things like that. He has an upcoming special that he's taping at a local venue. Ooh. And he's kind of been my comedy mentor in regards to me trying and largely failing with stand-up comedy. And, him coming up and be like, yeah, you might want to dial back the butt stuff a little bit. I'm like, it's all I know is ass.
We're going to talk about your debut soon. We're going to talk about it, I think.
Great. Yeah, throw me under the bus.
No. Hey, you tried something that most people are terrified of doing.
Yeah,
stand-up comedy. You know, I just never quit after 21 years.
I mean, it's its own addiction. You know, once you scratch that itch, it changes your perception of your day-to-day life. You know, you have an interesting, moment at Harris Teeter. And like, we were going by Athlete's Foot the other day, and I'm like, why did they name a store after a disease? That'd be like having a bra store like called Chlamydia RS or something. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And your brain starts thinking that way, and then you're like making notes. And then how can I structure this? How can I form this? How can I end it with something to make the do callbacks and crowd work? And we're at the comedy club that you frequent. Good Nights in Raleigh. We're there about once a week, and they know us there now. And it's just fun, laugh, think, cry, do that 7 days a week. You think you're living the life.
Yeah. And that's where we met. And so you, obviously people know who you are. So that's why I'm watching the podcast. Video game developer, author. What else? Producer.
Broadway producer. Comic book creator.
Yes.
Restaurateur.
Look at that.
But video games will always be near and dear to my heart. And I think there's cross-pollination there from every single art form that you can learn and apply to video games and beyond.
Of course. And we met. So at Good Nights one night, I was opening for my friend Trey Gallion, a very funny comic. And I think I heard that you did live in town. This is when I just moved here not even 4 years ago. And I think I heard that you lived around, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with who that is. I'm a big gamer, And then one night at Good Nights, I think I just saw you pass me. I think I noticed Lauren first, obviously.
They always do.
She's very, very noticeable. Your lovely wife. And I said, this is like before the show. And I said, I think that's Cliff Blazinski that just walked by me. So then I made sure I had a good set that night, which I did, I think. I was wearing a Sega shirt too. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, after the show, you were like walking past me to go to the bathroom. I said, hey, you Cliff Blazinski? And you're like, hey, yeah, good set. I got to go pee. Here's my wife. I was like, oh, okay. So you went to the bathroom. And it's me,
Lauren, be entertaining.
Yeah. So me and Lauren just talked for like 2 minutes. And I was like, she's so nice. And then you came out and we were chatting. And I said, hey, your book, your autobiography is in our green room. And you were like, huh? So I took you back in the green room and I showed it to you. And it was a signed copy you left for Erica Rhodes. Do you remember?
Yeah. Erica, she forgot it.
Yeah. So I took it and read it like that week. I still have it there. And then like I saw you like a few weeks later, and then a few weeks later, and I'm like, I'm gonna force a friendship with this guy. This is the last thing I do. And then we just became friendly and chatted a lot about.
I'll find you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when I first met, first few times, we hung out, like, usually it was like the 2 drink minimum, and I was usually like half, like, half hammered. I actually quit drinking recently, which has been its own journey for my own podcast. Yeah, I propose, we no longer use the term alcoholic. We use drunkomatic, because that sounds like the next level. You've evolved like a Pokemon. So yeah, we geeked out about games and pop culture and comedy, and who's your favorite comedian, and when are you headlining? Who are you hosting for? Blah 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 blah. And it's just been an interesting journey. And you're a good guy. You're a little tall, but yeah. And so if we ever get a photo side by side, it's gonna be like that scene from Airplane, where that guy keeps coming in a frame, and the frame like cuts off from like the neck up.
Most photos that I'm in, like, I understand how I'm 6'6", so I know I'm the freak. Like, when there are people that are like, my wife's only 5'3", when there are people that are a regular height, like, I know that I'm the problem in the picture. So
no, you're the solution, because my feed is like, these girls show up, and I see them on YouTube all the time. It's like, this guy has to be at like 6'5",
right? Yeah,
or like 400 grand a year, and they always
too bad I'm married.
Yeah, no shit, right? Yeah, back off, get away. But yeah,
no, I always duck in pictures. I always like try to like
do like the hunchback.
Exactly, yeah, because I know I ruin a lot of pictures. There are times where I've done extra work, like on TV shows, where after a couple takes, they're just like, you just sit this one out, because I'm too tall for the shot. So I've had to like just sit out, and like, because they didn't want to adjust the camera to get my head in the background or something like that. So
they couldn't do like some Lord of the Rings, like forced perspective shit.
I've been told to just get out of here. So
okay, take off the lifts, Brian.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just you've got a good vibe about you. You're a pretty funny guy. And I think we have a lot to learn from each other, and this is the start of a beautiful friendship.
It sure is, but it's been fun for the past 2+ years. But and how it started with the stand-up. You mentioned to me one time, we were just chatting, like, you were like, yeah, I'd love to try it one time, and I said, well, come do a mic or something like that, and you're like, yeah, maybe one day. And then you kind of, you didn't know no reason why not, but you were just like, yeah, maybe one day. And then our friend Sasha was doing this comedy game show.
God.
And he said he wanted someone that wasn't a comic, that was just like someone else in town that might be a good draw, might be an interesting person to have on the panel. And I said, well, that guy Cliff wants to try stand-up. Why don't you give him 5 minutes on the show? Long story short, I remember I messaged Lauren, because I think you didn't get back to me. So I messaged her on Instagram. I was like, hey, this is Brian from the club, blah, blah. She goes, oh, yeah, here, message Cliff. And I messaged you, and you were like, yeah, sounds cool, man. So then I told Sasha, he was all excited. And then I think he had a bunch of friends came. We promoted like CliffyB's, stand-up debut. You're supposed to do 5 minutes. Do you remember?
Yes.
You did about 12, which is whatever,
But the thing that, like, in comedy, it's a huge faux pas to go over your time. It's an insult to the other comedians there. And, like, you got the bright ass lights on you, the red light hits. And I stress drank that night, to be honest, which is another reason why I'm glad. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll be here with my Arnold Palmer over here. Yeah. And, I just was going all over the board with a bunch of stuff. And Sasha's like, dude, you're going too long. And it eventually, it was a date that shall live in infamy. So it was like, we're going to try this. Right. Face plant.
But that's how most first times go. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like, most people aren't great. And you had a funny stuff. You did talk a lot about butts and eating your wife's butt and jerking off, and she's sitting right front, which is hysterical.
Yeah, but, well, that's my Avril Lavigne bit about her. I still think hit pretty well. So, talking about whenever she goes to do her business, which women don't poop, by the way. She goes, Alexa, play Avril Lavigne. So now every time I hear Avril Lavigne, I have to take a shit. It's poop by association.
You should just play the Weird Al song instead. Why'd you have to go and get me so constipated?
I never heard he did that.
Oh, actually. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Every time I hear Michael Jackson's Beat It, I hear Eat It instead.
Yeah. So, but then kudos to you. You tried it, what, 10, 15
I've done it. I've done it 20 times. And
20,
and I've done well about 2 times. And open mics, as you know, like, depends on the venue. It depends on the crowd.
Sure.
Because usually 3/4 of the people are like local jaded stand-up comedians who are in the back, like, Yeah. And, they don't want to laugh, as opposed to a regular comedy show where people, like in the small room, they pay $5, $10, $15 tops, and they have sunk cost, and they want to laugh.
Yeah.
Whereas with open mics, it's hard to gauge what lands and doesn't land. And so if you get the slightest giggle out of the local jaded stand-up comedians, you make a mental note.
Yeah.
Okay, Avril Lavigne associated with going number 2. That one kind of works. And then you workshop it and massage it, and go home with your tail sometimes between your legs, and you start over.
Yeah, I did a show not too long ago. It was a real show at a bar, and I think I told you this. It didn't go great. Like, it was fine. It wasn't like nothing was like killing. And I did a bunch of new stuff. I wanted to try some things out. Then the next day I was like, I know some of those things should have worked better. So I went and did a mic and did great. Like, the 3 things that I tried did great. I'm like, yes, it doesn't. Sometimes you just never know.
There's so many little lessons I've learned. Like, if the joke doesn't land, blame yourself. Don't blame the crowd.
Always.
Like, don't make fun of the venue. And we had that amazing moment where the Luigi Mangione thing happened. And I was like, I tweeted somewhere, somehow, tonight at a comedy club, someone's going to do the standard comedian and ask people like, hey, what do you do for a living? And the person's going to be like, oh, I work in healthcare. And it's like the volleyball, like bump, set, spike. And you that night had somebody where at first the guy, I think it was in like the front row, like, and he's like, I'd rather not say. And you're like, no, you can tell me, man. And he's like, I work in healthcare. And then your response was something like, you're safe here tonight. Or something.
Yeah. What I was so surprised to hear that you legit go to good nights or a comedy show, like you said, once a week, once every other week. What got you so into stand-up? Have you always been into it? Was it something that, like, ever since you were a kid? Was it a later thing since you moved here? Like, what made you? Where's your love of stand-up, which is awesome?
I mean, I grew up watching like Carson and his opening monologues. I grew up with SNL. I'm not going to do the whole like SNL was great when Will Ferrell was on it, which is like the standard SNL thing. I don't know how Lorne Michaels hasn't gone on like a rampage or anything. I watch SNL almost every week, and being a drama nerd in high school, like I came up watching Eddie Murphy's Raw and Delirious. His whole bit about Mr. T being gay still holds up. And then we got some ice cream and you ain't got none because you on welfare. And then years later, falling for all of Chris Rock's material. There's so much. A lot of good comedy is saying truths that people didn't realize they had. Carlin, of course. There's a reason they call it the American Dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it. It's one big club and you ain't in it. And there's just so much truth to be had there. And I love I was sitting there, we went and saw, I can't remember who it was, just we're at good nights, and, I had to do the 2-item minimum, and I'm like, okay, I'll have a soda and cran, and I guess the brownie sundae, which is surprisingly good there. And,
they have really good food there.
That's pretty good. And so I took my ticket stub and I put it down, and I just dropped it in the sundae, and my wife looks at me, she's like, I'm like, oh, she's like, I keep those. I'm like, I didn't know. And so I took it off and I was like cleaning it off, and she explained in the car ride home, she's like, yeah, I like hanging on to them because you never know who's going to become huge. And I could be like, I saw them when, they were
That's
playing,
cool,
the basement of the Shake Shack, which is the common neg that people do about good nights. It's like, fuck you, dude. Like, this venue, in the old venue, they hosted Leno and so many other, well-known comedians. Like, don't neg the venue. Don't bite the hand that feeds. But I just, I love, laughing. I love figuring out, like, and my thing about comedy is it clean? Is it dirty? And my brother gives me crap about the comedy that I've tried being filthy. And we were talking about Nate Bargatze and how he can fill arenas and his stuff is clean as a whistle. Whereas, Doug Stanhope was one of my favorites of all time. And, we became kind of friends, and we went backstage when we went to the Improv, the Raleigh Improv. Narrator voice, it's in Carrie. And we went up backstage with him and his girl Bingo and Lauren, and we all 4 of us just got fucked up in his Absolute Vodka. And it was a good story. I have some fun stories about my drinking days. And I love, just going to a random show and it's somebody I have no idea who the hell they are. And then, if they're not too big, they'll come out afterwards and, press the flesh. Hey, great set. I love your bit about ET or whatever. Right. And then, build that network, because I like knowing people who do interesting things with their lives. It's not just stand-up comedy. It's video game development. It's writers. It's producers, directors. I like learning new shit. And stand-up's one of the many things that I'm learning, as well as how insurance works. So.
Wait, what?
We're having the car service right now. I had some medical stuff recently, and it's so fun. I think Chris Rock did another bit where he's like, shouldn't insurance be called in case shit?
In case shit happens. They should not get my money back. Yeah.
If shit doesn't happen.
Chris Rock was one of the first ones. Like, so I started. Do you remember Stand Up Spotlight on VH1?
Oh God, no.
It was back in like, I want to say late 80s, early 90s, right? And Bobby Collins hosted that show. And he was one of my favorite. He was the first stand-up comic I probably saw when I was like 10. And I just thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I was like, holy, what is this? Like, I never watched Carson. I'm only a few years younger than you, but I didn't watch Carson. But I remember Letterman was kind of big in my home, and then SNL was big. So I watched those, obviously.
As you get older, you really appreciate Letterman and his acerbic wit.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, and then you had Leno, who, like, for we I'm sorry, like, in hindsight, Leno's not funny, but Leno is a testament, and I can say this as somebody who's a shitty stand-up comedian. Leno just is he's the Olive Garden of comedians. You know, he always plays it safe. And if you go back and look at his show and his monologues, you know, and making fun of the O.J. Simpson trial and Monica Lewinsky and all that stuff, he just went for the lowest common denominator that would get middle America to think he was funny. And now, you know, he's drowning in supercars, and clearly something worked. And
Yeah.
I'll be over here, you know, enjoying Doug Stanhope talking about having a fantasy of raping an NFL player on any given Sunday at the 50-yard line. That bit goes off the rails. It's fantastic.
I mean, Leno knew how to do stand-up. You know what I mean? Like,
He knew the timing and everything. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, so you got to give him credit. And people think Seinfeld's not funny. Like, Seinfeld, of course, is funny. Like, he knows, like, he knows what he's doing. You know,
Seinfeld, and Jerry does know what he's doing. You know, you've seen the movie Comedian that he did, right?
Yeah.
He's talking about how, like, you could be at the Comedy Cellar in New York, and then, you know, somebody big will just drop in on a Tuesday night and do the test kitchen. Spoiler: it's not that different than doing A/B testing in video games. Put something out and see what sticks with people, and then the other stuff doesn't work, and then you roll it out. You know, you damn right if somebody's going to be playing Madison Square Garden or a major venue like that they're going to have refined and tested out their material before they play that venue. Yeah, we're burning through the final season of Hacks right now, which is also
it's great.
Yeah. My Little Debbie's. That's a really good show. But yeah, it's, you know, practice your lines before you go on stage. And that way, you know, you won't get nervous. And if you know what you're talking about and you're comfortable in your own skin, the audience can feel it. And that's, you know, and then you get that back and forth with the audience. I love crowd work. And I see it as, you know, volleyball. You know, if they put us front and center and they do the whole, like, what do you do? Like, there was this hilarious black lady, and I'm going to mention she's black, not because I'm racist, because it ties into the joke. She looked at my wife and she goes, "Oh shit, that girl looks like Christina Aguilera." My wife's like, "I'll take it." And she looks at me. I was wearing my suit jacket, had my earrings in and shit. And she's like, "Oh, he looked like a producer." And I'm like, what is this lady, Miss Cleo? Like, how the hell did she know? Are we that obvious? And it was just those little fun moments and those little interactions. And I love that shit.
What did, like, your family say when you did stand up for the first time at 50 or almost, you know, however old you were? 49,
I mean, my brother is my best friend besides my wife. And he always gives me, like, notes and feedback. I sent him images of something I'm doodling on video game wise. And he's like, "I don't know, man. Her boobs seem kind of big." I'm like, you know, gotta give the Gooners what they want, man. I've been fighting it. You know, embrace it, lean into it.
Yeah.
You gotta give him a waifu once in a while. And but you know, I told him I had this whole bit I was going to do on Monday talking about how a urinal actually makes sense to ejaculate into if you're masturbating, and I make a pretty strong case for it.
Sure.
But he's like, "I thought you wanted to go cleaner," and I'm like, "All right, let's try something clean." But if, you know, I mean, think about it. You know, like, you're alone in the bathroom, and, you know, it's right there, and you know, as opposed to watching, you know, OnlyFans and you got your pants around your ankle. And then
do you mean at home, or you just out like a restaurant? Like,
I'm talking about, like, if you, the whole setup was like, when I go pee or go to the bathroom, I like to spit in the toilet. And once in a blue moon, for some reason we
all do that. Yeah.
And once in a blue moon, it accidentally lands on my dick. And then that part of my lizard brain from, like, 14-year-old Cliff is like, wait a minute. And then you look around, like, nobody's here. Maybe I could rub one out really quick. And then you think about it and you're like, okay, well, you know, it just will go right in the, as opposed to you're sitting on the toilet. Then when you got to finish, you have to bend your dick down and you end up with a UTI, or doing the whole, your stomach. And then you have to shuffle into the bathroom because you forgot to take your pants off. And then you take the Kleenex, and that's not enough. So you have to take a wash rag and you wipe it all off, and then you toss it in the laundry. And then your wife comes in the kitchen the next day. Is like, why does this washcloth smell like sweaty pennies? And then you're busted, which is why you should ejaculate into a urinal. But yeah, you could get busted for being a sex offender with that one. But that one, I'm not. That one needs refinement.
No, I think that was fine. We're gonna post this on the clip later. We're gonna post this later as its own clip.
Change them from urinals to seminals. Oh,
I wish I had a urinal in my home sometimes. For just sort of just for quickie number ones, it'd be so much easier.
I just pee outside in the lawn like my dogs.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't care.
Oh my goodness.
But I do get pee anxiety. That's the thing about urinals. If there's somebody like breathing down my neck, I'm like, all those scenes from the TV show Oz start flashing before my eyes. And then my body just clamps up and I'm like, okay, I'll wait for the stall.
I get that.
On that note.
Yeah. my family, I think, still can't believe I'm doing stand-up. I started when I was 24. I wasn't very talkative with my family. I have a very loud, drunk Irish family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody except me. And then I think they're all pretty surprised that I did it and then stuck with it, and I'm still doing it.
It's you scratch that itch, and congratulations on breaking the cycle, because you told me you're not much of a drinker.
No, I have like one Mike's Hard Lemonade per year, and then that's
you start wanting the sweet, and
it really gets crazy.
And that is, there's a lot of stand-up comedians that, it actually helps their performance. I think it's a 2-drink rule. It's kind of like bowling or playing pool. You have 2 drinks, you get better after that. It's exponential diminishing returns.
Did you watch that bowling documentary on HBO?
No, I think it popped up on my.
It's pretty good because it's so funny, because it's such like a. And my friend Jeff, he did a documentary called Hungry about competitive eating a bunch of years ago, and it's really good. And then this is similar as far as like, and he said it's very low stakes as far as bowling, but they treat it like it's the World Series. You know what I mean? Like it's like they don't make hardly any money doing this, but it's like their life. They bowl hundreds and hundreds of games a week, a month, whatever it is, and they followed like 5 or 6 guys around, some of the best ever, but they didn't do well in this particular tournament. It's actually a very good, fun documentary.
It's just all I can think about is Big Lebowski. I mean, the thing is you think about
Kingpin's my favorite bowling.
Kingpin as well. Yeah. You think about these sports, and I was eating pizza with my wife last night, and like I look up and there's like the Air Guitar Championships on ESPN 8, and I'm like, if you get eyeballs for it, people will fucking watch it.
They will.
And that's where esports comes in. Are people really going to pay to watch people play video games? Yeah. Twitch was built on that. Speaking of video games.
Yeah, let's talk video games now.
Yeah, man.
What do you want to talk about? Video?
Wait, hang on. I have my my little like notepad here, because every like late night show, they always have this like notepad. They make a joke and then they go, and they're not writing shit. It's like that scene in Big Lebowski where Jackie Treehorn goes and has a phone call and writes down something furiously, and Lebowski goes over and scribbles, and it's just an image of a dude with a big dick. But this makes it seem important. Yeah, so the Xbox logo, man. That's I kicked the hornet's nest when I talked about that on my social feed.
People really got into that conversation. Yeah, I barely understood what was going on. Like,
Xbox, they've had there's a lot going on, a lot of plate spinning. There's been a change in leadership, and this new woman really seems like she's going to right the ship. And it's like, you ask your average gamer, what does Xbox mean to you right now? Like there's like 2 consoles, and then what are the exclusives, and then how much is Game Pass a month, and what's is Call of Duty on it? If it is, how long's it on? It starts to become this Netflix series, which is what they were gunning for. It felt like, be the Netflix of game. This is an Xbox, and that's an Xbox, and it's like gamers are like, I
was never for that. Like I've always been a Nintendo and a PlayStation guy, and I thought, like, nothing against Xbox, but I feel like they just messed up so badly the last 8 years. Like they just had no idea what we wanted as gamers, and they kept thinking, no, you guys want this. We're like, no, we don't.
Well, I personally liked Kinect. I thought it was fun, but gamers are like, yeah, no, that ain't it, kid. And
it's like you had to have a Kinect, and you had to do this, and it's like all these little things that were just like I just put up a post the other day about I turned my TV on, and I got it refreshed, and it gave me like a privacy policy to read through and agree to. I'm like, this is my fucking TV. I don't give a shit about what you're doing. Like, I don't want to have to sign into something or agree to your terms to watch my friggin' television. Like,
I mean, I'm assuming it's a relatively new television.
A couple years old. It's a nice TV, but it's still like, it was just crazy that I had to re-agree to all their privacy policies and terms and conditions. And it's like, it's a TV, man.
There's a lot more going on in that space in regards to, I've seen stories about certain new Samsungs, like recording a screenshot of everything you watch, like every 15 to 20 seconds, reporting back to base. Yep. There's so much, new smart cars. You get a new car these days, and, everything is this big old touchscreen. And we have 2 day-to-day drivers that are like 10 years old with buttons on them. Like
Yeah.
heaven forbid we have fucking buttons.
Yeah.
And because I hate touchscreens. I still think like there's times where like I go to like CVS to pick up like some meds. Like, can you put in your information? I'm like, I hold up my ID. I'm like, could you?
Mhm.
Because the touchscreen is shit. Like I go to hit like B and it like puts V and I'm like, I know for a fact that I hit B, and there's so many times where I hit a touchscreen and I know I can feel my finger hit it, and it's like, what?
Yeah, they're not perfect yet. It's
Is
ridiculous.
there somebody there? Like, give me back my BlackBerry. Maybe this is the old man in me speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so real quick, back to the logo. Like,
Mm.
every logo, everything I've ever worked on, it starts off with a simple black and white. Everything going back from Jazz Jackrabbit to Unreal Tournament to Gears, even beyond with Lawbreakers, Rest in Peace, all that stuff. It always starts with the simple. There's a term for it in regards to the scalable file. I can't remember right now. And and that's the thing, is it's got to pass what I call the thumbnail test. You got to shrink it down to a tiny bit and still be able to tell what logo it is. The same thing goes for characters and iconic characters. If you see the silhouette and you know who it is, that's one of the many things that Overwatch did right. You see the silhouette of Diva, it's Diva. You see the silhouette of Mercy, it's Mercy, etc. And what happens is you get the black and white, you get the stencil, and then you do treatments on it. Do you want it to look like glass and candy, or do you want it to look like concrete? Do you want it to look like wax paper or cardboard? Like, what treatment do you want after that? This is how graphic design works. And we had a bunch of those, and people were like, that telling me I was the actually guy there, and I'm like, yeah, this is a case, and this is actually how it fucking works, dude. Like, Jesus Christ. And well, I've done graphic design. It's like, well, you can cut right to the chase with just going directly to the logo and the treatment, but make no mistake, usually it's a situation where somebody does the simple black and white and then they do treatment afterwards. It's like doing concept art as opposed to, well, I can just make a character. Really, sure, you just want to build one, but you don't get a chance for nudging and direction if you just go straight to the treatment. So that's my goddamn TED talk, and I'm sticking to it.
Now, were people just mad at a new logo, or were they for it, or obviously
they seem excited about it?
Okay.
And I think with the new leadership, they're trying to get back to, the color of that X, is kind of reminiscent of the shade of green with the original OG Xbox. And, it's that thing where it's like Microsoft is weird. Like it became like a news story this week where like, oh my God, Microsoft employees that work on Xbox are getting an Xbox email address. And I'm like, why is this news? Like, and that's part of the Oversoft Microsoft umbrella, bazillion-dollar company. But there's always that, support the Microsoft agenda, and the problem that hopefully they're, realizing is, Microsoft Windows, and then there's like Windows gaming. And I'm like, that doesn't sound fun. I'm sorry. Your average person still to this day associates Microsoft and Windows with work, Excel, Photoshop, like all that stuff. Xbox was when Microsoft actually started to become cool.
Yeah.
It just sounds cool, Xbox. And lean into that's the hardcore gaming part. And like, wow, now they have an email at xbox.com. Like, okay, like, what exclusives do you have coming up? Like, this Game Pass thing, like make it crystal clear, and don't do the two consoles. Just, Sony's over here like, yeah, PlayStation 5, you want it? Come get it.
Right.
And that's that,
I always thought Game Pass was the most overrated thing. When I had friends that would gush about it all the time, I'm like, yeah, but you're paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars and all you play is Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Like, just buy Call of Duty once for $60, but you're spending hundreds because that's all you play. And like, yeah, but it's free. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not free, So I don't know how much they give
the same mentality. It's like, hey, that's only 99 cents. Like, no, that's a fucking $1, dude. Like, hello. But it's those mental gymnastics, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know if it hurts the developers long term or what, but they got to get some type of good deal out of it.
We don't know the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Of, the royalties percentage, the breakdown, the contracts. But going back to the Microsoft thing, I'm still very good friends with many of the people I worked with on the Gears franchise over there, and a couple of them, in separate occasions, came to town. We had a nice sushi dinner and a drink. And but there's still that Microsoft wall there.
Sure.
Like, got to toe the corporate line. They can't say anything out of line. And the kicker is the people who ultimately would do fairly well at Microsoft and Xbox were the ones that would buck that trend a little bit. It goes back to that the Tom Cruise movie Risky Business. And I think it was Harvard that he was going for. And then, the admissions guy shows up and sees this rambunctious, party where Rebecca De Mornay and Tom Cruise are, pimping out all of her prostitute friends. And showing how he knows how to run a business. And the guy's like, I think maybe it was Stanford, or like Stanford could use a guy. They could use a guy like you. And, sometimes you got to know when to say, what the fuck? And, that's how you buck the trend. Otherwise you wind up, chasing it, the iPod crushes it. And it's like, let's make a Zune. It's like, okay, God.
I mean, the reason why, Nintendo, most of the time they hit, and they're a weird company and they try weird shit. And, 80% of the time, 75% of the time, it works. But the times where they mess up, they're just like, oh, we're not gonna do that again. Let's just, and they, yeah. I think they learn much better from their mistakes than other companies. It seems like, and they don't care what anybody else does. They're just doing what they're doing, and then people eventually follow them. Like PS6, they're saying is going to have a handheld component to it, things like that, just like a Switch. So like, I get it, but Xbox, I feel like they have no idea why they went away from the console, what they wanted to do, and all this stuff. I don't know.
It's weird, man. The only stuff that I play right now are my Switch and my PC. We have a nice game room set up there with all the consoles, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah. It's like, and that's the thing is, I saw Pragmata and the new Yoshi game are only available on Switch 2. And I'm like, oh God, now I have to buy one. That's the threshold you want in order to sell consoles. It's always been the case,
Yeah.
With Xbox, you got to get it to get Halo. You want Xbox 360, you got to get it to get Gears, and on and on and on. And once you bleed down and cross pollinate that exclusivity, that kind of reduces the desirability of buying the console.
I feel like exclusivity wasn't such a big deal back in the day with Nintendo and Genesis. Like it was a normal thing, and now it's just like, why is this not on everything? It's like, it's still the same. Like companies have exclusives. That's not a big deal, And there's so little exclusives now because Sony's putting their stuff on PC. Xbox is like, you can play wherever you want. We don't care. Like anybody, anybody can have it.
Nintendo always knew that Nintendo fans, there's plenty of great third-party games, but at the end of the day,
it's Nintendo a Mario
fans. Nintendo fans want Nintendo games.
Yeah,
they want the new Mario, the new Zelda, the new Pokemon.
Everybody should have like a Switch and either a PlayStation or an Xbox. It's like, so you can have your Mario machine, but also the other cool shit.
The Mario machine, I like that.
That's basically what it is.
But so let's talk about Mouse PI.
Mm-hmm. I played through it, loved it. I thought it was so fun. It got a little not repetitive. I was surprised how long it actually was.
Yeah.
Because it's very linear, which I like. I'm at this age, like I don't. Metroidvanias freak me out. They're too hard for me.
I'm like, just tell me where to go.
And that's why I love Last of Us and God of War. Like they're technically linear games. You can't really go that far off the path. You know what I mean? Like GTA, you're going to go crazy, but for games like big single player games, I like knowing where I'm going to go next. Right?
Well, like back when I played Skyrim, I got so distracted by the side quest that I forgot what the main quest line was.
I stopped playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla because there was literally 900 side quests, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed right now. I can't do it anymore.
And there's usually like 4 or 5 archetypes of what the side quest is: kill somebody, find something, explore something, and then they copy paste. And that's the thing is, like there's been this whole thing about, like, I saw the first trailer for Mouse PI, and I'm like, that looks really cool. They're kind of taking that 1930s Cuphead animation style, putting it in FPS, and I downloaded it. I started playing it. I'm like, technically, this doesn't do anything new, but I'm okay with that.
Right.
People are saying it's kind of like a boomer shooter, even though the art style is not that super retro style. Well, it's retro in a different way because it still technically looks really good, not just super pixelated.
Yes.
And I'm about 4 hours in. I'm having a blast with it, and I'm going to go back to it, which to me is the ultimate sign. And it's not like I bought it. For me, a lot of games I buy it and I play the first couple levels. I'm like,
do I want to finish this? That's a huge thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I got the idea. I don't need to go back to that. But for this one, definitely going to keep going with it. Once we finish up this, I'm going to go back and keep playing it. And the thing that got me was that fucking IGN review.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are like playing it out of spite because of the IGN review. Because I was like, it can't be that boring or bad. I played it first hour. I'm like, this is really, first of all, very well done. The acting is amazing in it. Not just Troy Baker. Everybody is so good in it. All the voice acting.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun game. Like there's nothing wrong with just a normal fun game. Like,
and it knows what it is.
Yeah. So
And that's the thing is, there it's very well paced. I've always been very big on pacing in single player games. It's like, okay,
yes,
now I finally have a new weapon. And I always love the thing where you start getting some ammo for what the next weapon's going to be before you have the next weapon. I'm like,
yeah,
ooh, I'm going to get a shotgun soon. You see, I
right,
see what they
right,
did there. And the secrets aren't incredibly well hidden. It's like I go around this one corner. Whoa, secret. I'm like,
right.
wow, okay. But there's little things like the enemies, the monster closets have little skulls in the doors, and it'll say like not open yet on the
Yeah, yeah,
doors.
yep,
All the
yeah,
references, I see the steamboat that says Willie on it, and the so let's go back to the reviewer. I don't know who this person is, but this person must smell their own farts all fucking day long, because this was the most like, well, this isn't really film noir, this isn't LA Confidential, this isn't Chinatown,
yeah,
this isn't Black Dahlia, this isn't a
right,
real film noir. It's like, dude, fuck off. It's a shooter.
right.
You're gonna be, there's too much cheese in this. It goes back to that whole IGN thing where there's the Pokemon game. Like, there's too much water, and the internet's onto them, man. They're just roasting them. This is a classic situation. Like, there are times, we have the shooters that I worked on over the course of my allegedly storied career. And you have to, if you're the person who owns the entity or is the main editor, you got to pick the right person for the job. I'm not necessarily saying a sycophant. Like, if you have the person on the staff that likes shooter games,
Right.
have them review the shooter. Like, we had a couple times where a person who was like the big JRPG nut was assigned to review like Unreal Tournament or Gears of War, and the review, of course, didn't turn out great because this wasn't their
Right.
wheelhouse, and it needs to be objectively judged from a person who likes this, likes the genre. And the person who reviewed the game, took a break from smelling their own farts to writing like, oh, and it has all these pop culture references. Like, wow, you're going to reference Igor from Young Frankenstein. Wow, that's really like,
It was great that, yeah, I love that actually that they did that.
you're going to have Indiana Jones references. Oh my God. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, it's far easier to criticize than create. And,
Yes.
this person is sitting there like writing this review out of spite, being like, I should be writing for the New Yorker, and I have to write for this game website. And it was just a, like, I'm watching the YouTube video before I go to bed with my wife last night. I'm like, I was just getting increasingly angry. I'm like, I haven't had like a lot of fun. Like, I played Gunbrella on my Switch. I enjoyed that, but there's so many games that come out. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not my jam. I just like the retro platformers. But then this game came out, and somebody on my social feed was like, yeah, but after the first couple hours, the art style wears off. That'll only take you so far. I'm like, no, it's just a well-crafted game. And the boss fights, the main difficulty is not that rough, but the boss fights, have the spike. There's a number of bosses I finished with like this much health, and I get the sweaty palms, which are always the sign of a good game, in my opinion. And it's just one of those things. The internet seems to be rallying behind it. All of the Steam reviews are really good.
Yes.
And it's a team of 50 people. They
Right.
put it out at like $24.99. And it's just I ask people, if I were to make something new, what would they want? And they're like, it's just a fun. You look at Pragmata doing well, that's what, a 12 to 15 hour game. And that's it. And, you look at, they also want something that's just, I just want something I could drop in, drop out, play 20 minutes, shoot some stuff, blow some shit up with my friends, and then move on with my day. And then I'll come back to it tomorrow for a couple more sessions, as opposed to, oh, I got to keep them playing. Come on, man, just give me another battle pass kind of mentality. And I think, players want something, a little bit more retro these days, and nostalgia is a powerful drug. And I'm looking forward to going and playing Mouse PI some more.
Yeah. Did you, I don't want to spoil. Did you get to a part? I'm going to wait. You say you're about 4 hours in?
Yeah, I got through the lab
right.
with the
Do you get a lot of like Roger Rabbit, like Toontown vibes in some parts of it?
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the weapons is basically the dip.
It's dip, I know.
Yeah,
and I probably use that. I use that one the most, and the shotgun actually. I think.
Yeah, the shotgun's very satisfying, and like normally with the regular pistol, you just gun for headshots and everything like that. And it's just, oh yeah, wise guy, and you have the, the dame, she had legs that went all the way up kind of vibe.
Yeah, I really thought like it was so. The voice acting was stellar. I thought it was really good. It was
and the lock picking, the lock picking is dead simple, but for some reason I enjoy it. It's like you're using your tail, and it's so stupid, but I'm enjoying it, and I think it's a bit of a risk, but it's the game that art style is what makes it. It's the shooter game. Oh wait, the one set on post-apocalyptic Mars. Like no, there's my notebook. It's the one that's like set kind of film noir style, and you're a mouse and you're killing other mice and you're just cramming cheese into your pie hole, and it's a joy to play, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, when Cuphead came out, it was just like the most mind blowing thing as far as what it looked. There's nothing's ever looked like that.
Characters always doing this.
Like they started, like games started doing the retro vibe years ago, and things started looking like Nintendo games, which is cool. But no one took it. No one tried to do a cup like anything like Steamboat Willie. Like and they nailed it so hard, and it's cool to see other things doing it and doing it well.
Cuphead just hit that difficulty curve for me though. Like I always call it the continental shelf of difficulty. I got like 4 or 5 levels in, and the game's like "fuck you," and I'm like,
I finished Cuphead, and that was one of the most satisfying games I've ever beaten.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was I like challenge in the right context. You know, I beat Celeste, and
me too. Beautiful
my
game.
wife, dude, is amazing. It's just great atmosphere, simple graphics, and my wife's like, I love Super Meat Boy also, but my wife's like watching me play these crazy ass platformers. She's like, ooh ah, and I'm like, and she's like, how do you play that? I'm like, how do you play these boring ass Pokemon games? That's right. She's excited, by the way.
Just gotta get good at it.
We go for walks in our neighborhood, and there's somebody has one of those like little like, you know, take a book, give a book libraries they set up, and she's been trying to get it to be a Pokestop, trying, and finally she had it cleared. And I think it's because her request, she actually got ChatGPT to write it for her. And so they probably have like an AI on the other end, and then the AI talking to each other like, oh, you're AI too, you know.
Where do you stand on, because you've created blockbusters on where do you stand on indie games? Because indie games are like 90% of what I play now. I think that's where the risks are, that's where the fun is, that's where the creativity is.
Well, I mean, it's indie games and mods. You know, these are developers who can take a risk that most AAA studios wouldn't. And you know, like you have this hierarchy of bean counters and producers. It's like, well, and they're all very rearward looking. Well, traditionally, this genre doesn't do well. And when it's an indie game, you get a person or a handful of people who are together, and they're like, you know what? I like this kind of game. What do you think? Oh, that's cool. We could, and then they just start building it, sometimes out of their own pockets. And you could feel that it's a labor of love often coming through in the indie games. Like, the ones Ed McMillan does, going back to Celeste and everything like that. And they feel real and sincere. And same thing with mods, like some of the biggest genres, Counter-Strike and, the MOBA genre came out of mods, because the person in the garage in Toledo, Ohio can take more risks than your EAs or your Ubisofts. They get to the point where they get a brand that people know Assassin's Creed. It's like, we're doing the next Assassin's Creed. It's going to be quadruple A. And gamers are like, really? And it's, I don't know. I'm curious to see. It's going to be like, the 7th, I think, is when Microsoft's going to show off what they've been working on with the coalition with Gears, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I get asked about it every day on my socials.
I always joke how like most indie developers have gone through some shit because there's so many sad indie games that have like a meaning or a message that is usually a beautiful thing that you can't get in like a. Like you don't get that feeling on Call of Duty, but like in an indie game, it could be an hour, 2-hour game, but when you're done, you're like, whew, that was a lot.
Well,
but
that was like, you remember the game Braid, right?
Yeah.
I did an interview at E3 years ago, and I was on the interview with Jonathan Blow, or he was after me or before me, I can't recall, but they had hired like a car service to take us back to the hotel. And I'm in the car with him, and I was like, Jonathan, so, the end part where the girl seems like she's running from you, or, like that whole thing. And I was like, was that like personal? And he just kind of gave me this look, the whole like, and, I always say, whenever possible, make your work personal. I mean, same thing going back to stand up, when you talk about, a guy we saw, Trey Crowder recently, and he was talking about, when your wife wants you to notice, like, you notice anything different? And it's like, Clue, like you're playing this game, your hair is different, you're wearing a different dress, you lost weight, you gained weight, I don't fucking know. And it's the same thing with, for me with the games that I've made, my best games have been when I'm at my low point in my life. And, I had the time and the hours, and, I'm like, I'm going to make Dom kill his goddamn wife, and you're going to watch it, and you're going to hopefully cry. I've had my suffering, damn it.
I think that shows a lot in indie games, and I love that part. Like, I think my favorite indie game is called Grease, Gris. I don't know if it's Gris or Grease, but I always say Grease. I think it's the most beautiful indie game ever made, and there's no dialogue or nothing, but what's happening in this game. You feel everything. It looks beautiful, sounds amazing, and there's a story that you just have to figure out as you go through with it.
Well, I mean, it's that's the thing is it's okay to ask something of the player.
Yeah.
You don't have to know. It's that old video. I think I can't remember who put it up. Aaron Hansen, I believe. And it was like the whole, like, if Mega Man was done with modern tutorials, it's like, hold X to charge, and you fell in that pit, how are you gonna get out? Like, it's just basically just let the player figure it out, because the first thing you do when you play a game is like, okay, what does this button do? What does this button do? Run, jump, dodge, et cetera, et cetera. And it became this hand holding. And it's like, no, let them, they'll figure it out, man.
I'm fine with a good tutorial now if, like, some games are too hard, but back in the day, you either read the manual or you just tried it. You just tried a button.
Well, it's like, they didn't, like, I don't recall them in Mouse PI telling me how to melee, and I was just like, you know what, F, boom.
I had to figure that out eventually. I was like, oh, good, you can melee, good.
Well, we had a great thing in Gears 3 where if you just knew how to play it, if you played the prior Gears games, if you took cover or you evaded or you blind fired and aimed, like, the game would recognize that and not do the pop-up, take cover with A, or, use left trigger, blah, blah, blah. It was like, okay, you clearly know what you're doing. Enjoy, have fun.
I just finished this game called Shady Part of Me, an indie game. Took like 3-4 hours. Awesome game. Very weird, kind of dark in a way, but like just this beautiful, real cool mechanics too. You switch back and forth between yourself and your shadow, and you got to help each other out to get through it's a platformer, but a puzzle platform. It's really good.
That's cool. I'm gonna give that a go too, but gotta finish Mouse first.
You'll finish it. Yeah, it's cool.
So yeah, you want to talk about the fighting game movies?
Yes, let's do that.
Are we gonna go see Mortal Kombat together?
I hope so.
Okay,
is that next week?
Yeah, let's follow up offline.
Yes.
Just don't sit in front of me, because you'd be like the guy in those old Bugs Bunny cartoons that enters the theater with like the 10-gallon hat.
Yes. Hello. I just first of all, we have MK2, we got He-Man and Street Fighter. I'm so excited. I was a huge He-Man guy. Turtles is my main thing, even still today, but He-Man was my number 2 back then. So, and I think it looks great. I hope they just go nuts and just give us everything we want in this. Don't hold back. I hope there's surprises. I hope there's people.
That's Idris Elba is what's his name, right?
He's a Man at Arms. Yeah.
Yeah, like only he could pull that outfit off.
Yeah. I it looks really good. And Jared Leto, say what you want, he's a weirdo as a person. Skeletor is a weirdo villain. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, it's better than the Joker.
Yeah, and he's also covered the entire time. It's CGI, whatever it is, or prosthetics. So it's not like we're not gonna see Jared Leto's face. He's a good actor, obviously. He's just a weirdo.
Yeah, but he slipped into that Katherine Heigl, like Katy Perry, like everybody hates me zone.
Yeah, because people do hate him, unfortunately. Leave the guy alone. He didn't do anything wrong.
Maybe this is going to be his bouncing back. But I had the He-Man stuff. I can't remember. I think I was on Skeletor's side. My brother and I in the 80s would like pick one side. With G.I. Joe, like I was Cobra, he was G.I. Joe. With Transformers, I was Autobots, he was Decepticouches. I still hate Decepticons. And we go back and forth. Even played a little bit with Mask back in the day.
Yeah.
And He-Man I liked, but He-Man wasn't as passionate for me as Transformers. I still loved
cool figures and villains and everything. Yeah.
The Beast guy, and then the guy with the springs with the iron head or whatever. And then, do you remember the episode of the show where Orko actually shows his face to this other Orko that he had a thing for?
That's like a peacock showing his butt to a fellow mate.
Oh, I was thinking the Mandalorian taking his helmet off, but you went to bird sex. So, but yeah, it's what's old is new, and so I mean, for me, like when it comes to Mortal Kombat, they're in full on give the people what they want mode, and I'm absolutely here for it. It's like even acknowledging Chun-Li and Cammy with the thighs and all that stuff.
Street Fighter, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got them mixed up real quick. Yeah. But yeah, Mortal Kombat, the gore and everything like that, and that's the problem. You have the sacred characters, the main characters. Yeah, it's like they gonna kill any of the main ones? Is Shao Kahn gonna rip out somebody? Like
there's like 90 characters they can choose from, so there's plenty of material to go around.
Yeah, in the trailers it was all like generic character getting killed by established characters. So we'll see how that pans out. But I'm sure it'll be fun. It's just so. And Street Fighter. Yeah, sorry, I always go back to the thighs. Yeah. But I just, I think it just looks like a lot of fun. They're embracing the actual looks of the actual characters.
Yes.
I saw a quote from 50 Cent where it's like, yo, man, they did some weird shit with my hair. I'm like, yeah, well, that's what Barlog's hair looked like. And that's what people, that's what the actually crowd wants. Well, actually his hair is like this.
Right.
And I think both are going to be good fun. And I think Hollywood's finally like, we've maybe exhausted comic books a little bit, so let's go after that video game stuff.
What was the first good video? I mean, Sonic was good. Was decent. So I think they realized like, oh, we can make a good video game movie. Like we don't
Yeah,
have to keep making them corny, you know.
the Mario movies I thoroughly enjoyed.
They're fun. Yeah.
You have to go in with the right expectations. You have to be a fan of it, and you have to know when to give fan service and when to subvert it.
Yeah.
And I think they're finding that balance right now. The Zach Kreger doing the new Resident Evil movie, I think looks really, really cool and interesting. I loved his prior work with Weapons and Barbarian. But then again, a lot of Resident Evil fans online have been completely insufferable.
Mhm.
This looks cool, but it doesn't look like Resident Evil to me. I'm like, well, which version of Resident Evil are you talking about? Are we talking about 1, 2, 3? Are we talking about 4? Are we talking about 7 and 8? Like, everyone online thinks they're smart because, apparently the big fat dude in the sewers, like, I didn't play 8. Apparently he was the vendor in 8. And then people were like, oh, what is Baron Harkonnen doing in this? I'm like, wow, look at you. Check out the big brain on Brad,
I think I have to watch like playthroughs of those because I'm too scared to play those games by myself.
I love them. It's just
I know. I wish I could play them. Yeah.
7 was brilliant, but then I'd have to go upstairs and boot up the console, and then there's going to be another download update. There's going to be an update for the game. And speaking of which, by the way, there's that whole thing with the always online stuff with Sony. Have you been following that?
Look, I mean, whose console isn't online all the time? That's the annoying thing. Like everybody's console is online. The fact that they freak out over this, it's like turn your PlayStation on once a month. If that's not you, this shouldn't bother you anyway.
Yeah,
like it's such a dumb thing. I understand, but it's such a dumb thing to freak out. I'm never playing a game ever again. Okay, fine, go away then.
Yeah, they'll still sell games, but I think it's the whole like, well, you call me a criminal. And right. it's for me, it's like, I think deep down they're feeling the same feeling. Like when I actually used to like physically go into Best Buy and there'd be a person waiting at the exit with like, check your receipt and make sure you aren't stealing shit. Yeah. And that's, I think it makes a lot of them feel, even if they weren't going to steal anything or do God knows what. It's just that defensiveness of, always online. And, that's the world we live in. You gotta have the internet these days.
But that's the thing. Like everybody's console is always online 24/7 anyway. It's like no matter what. That's why I was like, how is this even a big deal? Like,
I don't know, man.
In the long run, technically, piracy it's going to help the developer if it's anti-piracy. So I don't know what they're freaking out over. I don't know.
People forget the games cost money to make.
Right.
That was the thing I was mentioning to you, talking about like, I had posted like, what's Ken Levine doing? Like, like he announced that Judas game, put out a small trailer which looked really compelling. And it's just been crickets for God, I can't recall how many years. And all I could think about, somebody who had my own studio that ultimately didn't work out, is, dude, like, your developers need to be paid a decent salary. You have to pay for the office, to the legal fees, blah, blah, blah. And like, how long is this going to take? And I'm sure it'll be a great game, but at what cost? And that the only reason BioShock Infinite shipped in the first place is because Rod Ferguson went to go become producer on it and told Ken, you can't have this section. You need to remove this section. You need to have your Sophie's choice of what features you're going to have in this game. Because a creative that's not given an edit, sometimes I don't think it's always the best thing for a creative to go, unchecked.
Yeah, my friend is who makes documentaries. He always says he calls it, you got to kill some of your babies. Like which babies don't you want in this? I'm like, oh, like we made stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I want it all. It's all good. It's like you got to get rid of some.
It's a painful thing, and I think one of the most dangerous things is when a creative has success, and you look at say what you want about J.K. Rowling's political leanings. We'll just throw that over there. You look at like the first Harry Potter book, and then with each subsequent one. And the same thing happened to, Stephen King. I love his work. I love almost everything he touches, but, his regular books are like this. And then, he wound up, that was it 10/28/63 or whatever. I always forget the date. That whole story about the guy who goes back in time to try and prevent the assassination of JFK. They did a great miniseries with James Franco on it, which we watched. And because I saw the book and I was like, I love to read. I read every day, but I'm like, when I get a book that's like that, I'm like, yeah, dude, and I'm a pretty fast reader, but I'm like, I'm not in the mood for War and Peace right now.
Yeah.
So, limitations force creativity. That's why, I often like making a game on a console because you only have, this many buttons to work with. And like, you better figure it out. Are we doing a weapon wheel? Are we going to do press and then hold? Like, how's that going to work? And that's a fun puzzle to solve.
I like that. I just rewatched Mortal Kombat 2021 the other day. to refresh my memory. I just saw it once, right? And
Yeah.
I watched the special features. I miss doing that. I used to do it all the time with my DVDs, but now like I wish they were included in like Netflix or things. Like people I think would like to watch the deleted scenes or behind the scenes stuff. Like they're interesting.
That's funny. Like, because we watched that shark movie that came out recently called Thrash.
I never
And,
heard of it.
go in with low expectations. It's
Yeah.
yet another, family's trapped and there's sharks, circling. The premise is actually decent. We have a Category 5 storm hitting South Carolina. And then, all of a sudden, this meat truck crashes and all this, animal blood gets released into the rising storm surge. And then all the bull sharks start coming in and attacking people because they're in a shark frenzy. And, I was talking to my movie buddy, and he's like, yeah, dude, they actually built those sets like so they could raise and lower with the water to simulate the storm surge coming. And he sent me a link to behind the scenes. You have to go to YouTube or Instagram these days to see the behind the scenes, as opposed to, because we watch all of our stuff on Fire Stick or Xbox One video, and it's just like I would love to wrap a movie and be like, hey hon, want to see how they did that one shot, like
sometimes they have like the podcast episode on HBO after, like, here's how we did Walking Dead. It's like, I don't want to watch a whole podcast. I just want to see a couple cool clips, a couple of vignettes of how they did this or why they did that.
Same thing with there's been a trend, especially in horror these days, going back to practical effects. And CG is fine for what it is. I always say the best CG is a CG you don't notice, going all the way back to Forrest Gump. And I was having a conversation the other day, like, I didn't realize that Gary Sinise has both legs, because the CG was that seamless back then. And that the best CG is the CG you don't notice. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
This ties into this really, actually. So two of the things I learned on the Mortal Kombat behind the scenes was the actor who played Sub-Zero in the current movie, right? Was part of the Indonesian judo team for like 15 plus years, won a bunch of awards and medals. He's like incredible, right? He was so fast and quick, they told him to slow it down a bit because he was too good. He was too fast for the camera. The only guy they've ever said that to was Bruce Lee. Yep. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And Goro in MK, this one, the new one, was actually two dudes. One guy was like crouched with his hands. The other guy was behind him on stilts.
Isn't that kind of how they did it in the first one?
No, that was an all animatronic.
Yeah, the top was animatronic and the bottom was the dude.
This was two guys with blue screen, outfits on and arms, but they actually used two different guys so they had to get the four independent arms going.
That's cool.
I thought it was pretty awesome. I was like, that's pretty crazy.
It's kind of like the two guys and a horse,
Yes, exactly.
They're like three kids in a trench coat trying to buy beer or cigarettes,
Maybe Kintaro will be in this new Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah, my excitement hype level just went up based on the Goro thing.
What fatality would you think would hurt the most in real life?
Which character, or are you talking about? I think having your spine ripped out easily, but you probably wouldn't feel it.
That's what I'm thinking. It does look like Jack's head crusher. You wouldn't feel that. Which one would you just be like, God, this hurts so bad?
I think Scorpion's burning you to death. Because it would really, really hurt, and then it wouldn't because all your nerves would be fried, but you would feel it, and at least for the initial bit.
Doesn't Katana suck you in and blow you out, or is that Melina? One of them sucks you in. Oh wait, Katana sucks you in and blows you up, I think.
And there's the blade. All the bones came out with one of them, right?
Yeah, Melina sucks you up, then vomits out your bones.
Yeah, Melina's my go-to with MK2. That's one thing about whenever we go to like a barcade and we play, I'm like, they have MK2, honey. She's like, God damn it.
I was Jackson Reptile in MK2.
Yeah, Jax is just grab people and just
love it.
I met a bunch of those actors at an E3 years ago.
Oh, yeah?
There's a photo of me with my horrible outfit and these little round sunglasses, and they were actually all really nice. But it's the legacy. Mortal Kombat's 35 plus years in. It's just crazy. Ed Boon's just leaning into it. He's just doubling down on it. He's like, this is my legacy, and I'm gonna stick with it. And I'm like, I like making new shit. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're still doing it. I mean, it's one of the most successful and popular franchises ever. You got to give them that. It's so good. And I just saw yesterday they might be making Injustice 3 now, which Injustice 2 was awesome because they had the Ninja Turtle DLC. Did you play that ever?
No, I did not.
They nailed it so hard. It's perfect. It's like the first Turtle movie, like from 1990. It's like that type of costumes. It's each turtle plays differently too, which is awesome, They nailed that DLC so bad.
We watched those movies a couple of years ago, and they largely hold up. But I saw that meme where like there's one frame where you can actually see the dude's teeth like in the background,
yeah.
which is just pure nightmare
The
fuel.
first movie's awesome. I still love the first one. The second one I just saw too in the theater. It's great. Like this third one I think is pretty bad.
Well, so the second was The Secret of the Ooze, and the third one's where they went to feudal Japan, if I recall.
Yeah, and it was just dumb. Like
it's like Back to the Future 3 for me. I'm like, yeah, no, that doesn't count. Let's do the Wild Wild West. Like, yeah.
Has there been a good third movie, like maybe Alien 3? What's the best third sequel? Like, I don't even know, because
I don't know. Like Spider-Man is in.
Yeah, but maybe those are X-Men. I don't know. It's hard.
The Matrix, I heard it had sequels. I wouldn't be aware of that.
I think they all blend together. John Wick 3 is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, Indiana Jones, 3 actually wasn't bad when Sean Connery.
Right, that was the Last Crusade. Okay.
Yeah, it's Indiana's a dog's name.
Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, Star Wars for all the nerds out there. No, I'm just
yeah. I mean, I didn't like 1, 2, 3. Of course, I like 4, 5, 6, and Empire is still the GOAT.
Yeah. What else can we talk about? What do you what was your favorite? I wrote down a couple. What was your favorite game growing up?
Of all time?
Like when you were a kid, you were 10. What was like the one thing you couldn't wait to play every day? Was there something?
Anything Mario. I'll never forget seeing the original Nintendo at my friend's house, and I was basically using him for his cheese dip and his Nintendo. And I go and play it, and then eventually it became Zelda. But for me, I think people ask me what the greatest game of all time is, and I always say Tetris.
Yeah.
Because Tetris, the movie was really, really entertaining, telling the story. I remember I'm watching it, queuing it up. I'm like, Alexei Pajitnov, I better get some good time in this. And it's basically just problem solving in your brain. You play it, in the back of your brain is compiling all the stuff you've dealt with throughout the day, all the stuff you're gonna have to deal with for the rest of the week, and you're rearranging your sock drawer. And I've come to the conclusion that he can often tell a person's internal emotional state by the state of their home or their car. Like, do they keep their car clean, or do they use it as a pigsty and as a trash can? Like, what's their closet look like? And there's certain people that are just like, out damn spot and that kind of stuff, but take pride in what you have. And that's honestly, Tetris is your brain's way of sorting. And my wife and I, when one of the many times I first realized I loved her was we went to a vacation in Mexico, and we had our DS's. And I didn't know what T-spins were. Like, they added that later in Tetris. And she's like, you got to get those T-spins. And then she was like, whooping my ass. I'm like, I was in the Nintendo World Championships, woman. I lost at the end, but I came in second.
So satisfying, the T-spin.
Oh, dude, that's an evolution of taking an established game and giving it a little tweak in order to. That's kind of like when they added in the next icon. That was another example of just nudging the formula slightly, as opposed to doing Tetris, and now it's got bombs. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, I think Tetris 99 is the best version of Tetris ever. It is so addicting. It is so fun. It is so chaotic. And I think it's perfect for what Tetris is, where it's just like, it's complete madness the further you get into it. And Tetris Effect, especially in VR, is mind-blowing. It's so much fun. But
I keep going back to the old school. Do you remember? Are you old enough to remember the Tengen version of Tetris?
Yeah, I had both for some reason. I had the Nintendo one, the Game Boy one, and the Tengen one. Yeah,
dude, there was a whole legal battle between Tengen and over the game, and the Nintendo one. And then I was really good at the Tengen one. The controls were crisp and tight. Then I played the Nintendo one, and the Nintendo one just wasn't quite the same anymore. It wasn't as crisp. And once you get to the higher levels, and like foo 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 foo. And you get in that kind of zone, that sense of flow, and it's incredible. It's still, like one of the greatest games of all time. Now, you get asked that question. You're on a desert island. You're stuck with one game. I'm like, Tetris.
I think it's Stardew Valley for me, because it never ends, and it's amazing.
I was sitting there with my boy Demond, who works at Squanch Games, and I was, like in the AAA headspace, and I was like, "What are you playing lately, man?" He's like, "Yo, man, I'm playing this," and I was like, "What the hell?" Like that's like this retro farming game, and it was made, I think, by like one person,
one guy,
and
Eric Barone.
It's
one of the most perfect games ever made. Yeah,
he left all the way to the fucking bank by making something that he believed in and sticking to his guns, and good for him. That's why indie games, I think, are awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Cool.
Yeah, I vividly remember seeing Mario for the first time at my brother's friend's house down the block upstairs. They wouldn't let me play. I was like 4 or 5. They wouldn't let me play it. I mean, maybe I was probably like, I guess I was like 6, and I remember just like just glued to the TV, like, what is this? Is the coolest thing ever. Because we had an Atari growing. What was your first thing? What did you guys have growing? Did you have an Atari or a computer?
We didn't. Yeah, we had this these neighbors of ours that spoiled their kids. They're the ones with the basement that had the real life pinball machine in it.
Nice.
And they bought all the kids all the goodies, and I think it's because they were in a crumbling marriage, and they figured if they could just throw shit at the kids, it would placate them.
Yeah.
And I remember being like 6 years old and being just my mind was blown that you could actually move some shit on your TV screen.
Yeah.
And I was love at first sight. And then my family eventually got an Atari, and you know, there's a lot of nostalgia there, but in my opinion, a lot of the old Atari games don't really hold up, especially the shitty port of Pac-Man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, would it have been that hard to make the background black? What you went with this like off purple? It was terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. I had that. I had ET. My apparently my dad has never touched a video game since my mom beat him in Atari Pac-Man back in like 1983.
And he's like, I'm done.
Yeah. So, and then I showed him the Batman for PSVR a couple years ago, and he almost like had a heart attack. He couldn't believe like he was seeing Batman right in front of him. It was so funny.
Yeah, that was the moment where like you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm Batman.
Yeah.
And that's the you know, the fan experience, the fan fulfillment. You know, that goes back to give the people what they want.
Well, there's a terrifying part in the Batman. You play it's like an hour-long Batman game for PSVR.
I played it on PSVR.
Do you want you're in that little room that keeps getting small, and you turn around, and all of a sudden, one time the Joker's right in front of you, dude.
It was years ago.
It's so terrifying because you don't notice it. All of a sudden, it's like you're like ah.
But I mean, there's good jump scares and there's bad ones.
It was
and
so good.
It's
awesome.
so easy to do that in VR, but you know, to have that established world and you know who the Joker is, and that to Joker getting inside your head is what it, you know, would feel like. And that was cool. Also, like, side note, I want to see that liminal space back rooms. Dying to see that. Yeah, that just that whole like, you know, that created by this one young dude, you know, who started as like a 4chan kind of creepypasta type thing, and then blew up, and then A24 is like, let's make a real movie, and then he directed it, and it's a classic. You know, everyone's like, oh my god, he did this when he was like 17 or 18. I'm like, yeah, call me when there's somebody 60, 65 that does that. You know, like that's the shit you should be pulling off when you're that young and you have all that youthful energy, and your dreams and your hopes have not been broken yet. Get out there and make some shit, you know?
Yes. Also, how you feeling for episode 0? We good?
I feel good, man. I feel like, you know, we had a little cringe. I still want that button though.
Which one? The
cringe.
I gotta mute you sometimes. I think I can mute your microphone when you start talking about butts and stuff.
I have a fart button on my Steam Deck. I don't know if it was, did that work?
No, I didn't hear it. I think I can add. Oh, I can add some. Yeah, we can add like things like.
Oh yeah.
For listening. So this is the first episode. These will be out weekly. It'll be on all the platforms. It'll be on YouTube. We'll put some clips on our Instagram. Look right here if you're watching this. Crunch Time with Brian and Cliff at gmail.com if you want to send us a message, or at Crunch Time with Brian and Cliff on Instagram. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about, all that stuff, right? And we'll get.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a whole list of people lined up who are ready to be guests, and that should be fun and interesting. You know, game developers and everything in between.
Obama, he's coming on. I hope.
Well, he went on Mark Maron's WTF, so you never know.
We'll see if we can get him. Awesome. So we'll be back next week. This should be out Monday, I think you guys listen to this on May 4th. May the 4th. Oh, I didn't realize that. It is Star Wars Day. We should have talked more Star Wars stuff for people.
Let's save it for the 4th.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Have a good week, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care, kids.